According to Rebecca Loos, David Beckham was not only a player on the field, he was one off it as well. Back in 2004, the then 26-year-old publicly confessed that when she was the soccer superstar's personal assistant, they had a torrid affair at the time, and unusually, for such an attacking footballer, Beckham was defensive. He protested it was ludicrous to imply he was having an affair before his Spice Girl wife Victoria. The denial enraged Rebecca Hells. It suggested she'd lied. In the end, anger turned to resignation. But then 2 years ago, a rather vainglorious David Beckham alluded indirectly to the liaison in a Netflix documentary. Rebecca responds, his words were an own goal that's now given her a free kick to retaliate. Quiet time is valuable for Rebecca Loos. It's the best way she can or be. It temporarily forget the mayhem in her life that's all too frequently been defined by headlines. Britain's most recognized sportsman had an affair with his former personal assistant Rebecca L. From unknown to unavoidable, Rebecca's agony started over 20 years ago. Music. She claims to have had no choice but to out herself as the other woman in the football superstar David Beckham's and his equally glamorous wife Posh Spice. Victoria Beckham, the chemistry between David and me was so intense that everyone was well aware and people weren't happy clearly, because I was being extremely unprofessional and he's a married man. If you could have a word with your 26-year-old self, what would you tell her? I would say to her that she's going to be all right. I'm going to cry. I'll say to her she's going to be okay and she will have love and happiness. Yeah, what makes you cry at the moment, I think? Recalling the hard times. Yeah, there's a lot of darkness to that world too. A lot of loneliness if ever proof were needed that collateral damage is a possibility consequence when the private life of public people are exposed. Then this is surely it. The Beckhams have actively marketed their union as a marriage made in heaven for 2 decades. David Beckham has rejected suggestions he ever had an affair with Rebecca, which is exactly why she feels she must speak with every denial. Her frustration, indeed infuriation, has grown. Did you have a day or a moment that you remember where you sat there and you went, I only wish this never occurred. I wish that perhaps I might have been more intelligent in the manner that the decisions which I had made certainly included some like that. However, things were executed the way they were, and you simply learn from it. If Rebecca got her time again, many things would likely have been altered. First and foremost, she might have replied no when David Beckham employed her as his personal assistant after his relocation to Spain in 2003 to play football for Real Madrid. But then again, perhaps she might not have. David Beck is a very charismatic fellow. He's, very, very charismatic. He's kind and he's caring, and he really made me feel special. He's appeared like a very sort of caring boss. How did Victoria take that attention towards you? I don't know. I got that much attention when she was present and she would go and return. So when they were in Madrid, it was, you're the first person they meet in the morning and the last person they see in the evening. Rebecca says Victoria was away the first time David made an approach on her in a nightclub. He just said to me, we were discussing, it was a bit dull, and he was like, oh, let's go back to the hotel. And I was like, what do you mean? Let's go back to my hotel. And I was like, I'm going back to your hotel room. Like, come on, you're my boss off. I think I actually said that to him. I actually said off, no way. And then he just kept looking at me and then I gave in. So we returned to his hotel room. What was the instinct that you were like, I'm going to go a glance in his eyes and the way that he looks at you? And it's really tough not to. He's got some charismatic aura about him. He's exceedingly good looking. And I believe he can very well get what he desires and he knows. So if you would have to simplify that evening, how would you do it? I woke up with biggest smile on my face. I also woke up thinking, oh, I'm in their room and I took a shower, and in the shower that also Victoria uses when she's there. So I was also felt that it didn't feel very right at the same time that I had this big smile on my face. And I snuck out and I went home and I was staying with my parents then. And my mother was like, oh, where did you sleep? And I just didn't really say anything, but she just knew by my face that I'd had a really good night. And then she just looked at me and she just said, be careful. So from then on, it was a big secret I had. And nobody knew anything about it, except for obviously David. And during this time, are you thinking to yourself, I shouldn't be doing this? Yes, definitely it was naughty. And I did think that it was wrong. But at the same time, I was, hooked. How many times did it happen? I don't know. Just a few times, I think. Whereas Rebecca's memory has perhaps easily faded on the delicate details of her sexy romps with David Beckham. She has retained text messages from when we're not permitted to disclose them, but I can reveal to you not a lot was left to the imagination. I've seen the text messages that sent to you. Yeah, he was interested in you. They're very close. They are very close. We had a very close relationship, close and intense. Rebecca owns up to she was smitten, but states nearly as quickly the joy became misery. He said he'd never done this before, and I was the first one, all the, corny things. And do you think I thought he 100%, I felt hook, line, and sinker for each and every cliche line he told me. And then 2 weeks later, we were at Ronaldo's birthday party, and, he's off with gorgeous model. And I was like, that was a tough night for me. That was like, I don't get it. And realization began to dawn on me that I've been enormously played. And it was going to get even tougher for Rebecca Loos. Her secret romance became global gossip when these pictures of David Beckham partying with his personal assistant were leaked to the press. You realize there's photos. Yeah, what are you thinking? To my horror. Uh, I got a call stating that there's photos. I believe it was News the World which called me saying there were photos of David in AA nightclub that were going to be front page news. Of course, I freaked. This was my job. This was I freaked big time. And I recall I called his mother and she said to me she was very, very kind and approach person and we communicated well, and she told me you never know how worse it is until the photos are out, so just breathe deeply and sit and see tomorrow. What music happened? This happened. Extramarital affairs allegations have gobbled acres of newsprint media obsession. The affair dominated British headlines for days in a row. The News of the World, which published the full allegation, declared that it stood by its story, 100% personal vicious attacks on Rebecca, which according to her left her with no option but to speak out about her version of the story. I went to see him in his hotel room prior to a game, and I was extremely thrilled to see him, and it was literally in, close off, get the action done and out within sort of half an hour. And I left there feeling completely, I felt tongue cheap. I felt used. And I told me I'm not even why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? Because emotionally, I've been through a lot since. So why did you go back? Because there were still feelings there. I guess I love him. I still do, still do. Why did you speak out publicly? I always had the thought of it's better that it's coming from me and that I have some kind of control. And also doing that, it was a way of me sort of not getting back at him, but just sort of, yeah, I just sort of felt the way he treated me was very unfair, what he was getting away with, and that two-faced life. And I felt that, um, I know how much this picture signifies to him. I just kind of wanted him to feel some pain too. I guess, I don't know, it sounds really vindictive to say, but when you're 26 years old, it's how you respond to heartache and pain and then you realize that David is just deny, deny, deny. How does that sound to you? I thought he would have issued a statement or something and just apologized or something. But I think the fact that he called my claims ludicrous, that just angered me all the more. It makes you want to stand up for yourself, and it makes you want to keep on coming forward even today. It appears hell hath no fury like this scorned lover rising up. The Beckham documentary that rekindled Rebecca Lowe's F. It was the first time that me and Victoria had been put under the sort of pressure within our marriage. I had the whole home wrecker thing again. Oh, you're a home wrecker. And then I just like, whoa, 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 hold on a minute. Soccer and Spice posing for pictures after saying they're engaged. You don't catch Rebecca Lowe's face or hear her mention on Netflix's 2023 David Beckham doc. But admirers of the football superstar know she's the one he's discussing. There was some grim stories that were hard to, deal with. It's an annoying watch for Rebecca, who believed her affair with David Beckham in 2003 was well and truly over them both. I never one moment thought that they would bring up this, so I was in the oblivion when suddenly my phone began calling and ringing. And did you just think to yourself, here we go. Again first, I was like, oh, what has been said? What has he said? Because he's never publicly accepted anything. He's always used a legal term where he termed my accusations as being ludicrous. Now things can be true, but they can be ludicrous. Ludicrous doesn't mean that I'm lying, or it's a very clever lawyer's term. To deflect Victoria is the world to me to see her. Her was extremely tough. While Rebecca isn't afraid of talking about Beckham, he not. So much when it comes to his XPA, even 20 years later, David and his wife Victoria still attempt to dance around the subject, of course. I'm very happily married and I've got beautiful wife and two gorgeous children, so I'm very happy thoughts. Yes, you're not going to open up your secret sides, are you? It was the first time that me and Victoria had been subjected to that sort of pressure in our marriage. What are you thinking when you see this? I'm thinking, perhaps he should consider twice before he does what he does, if he's concerned about this is how the result is for him. That's what I'm thinking. He's still saying the same thing 20 years on. Yeah, it's crazy, it's mad. There were loads of dreadful stories. There were dreadful tales about me. There were dreadful tales about his wife, Victoria. There were never dreadful tales about him. He was golden balls. He was the chap, pat him on the back where, hey, good for you. Nothing changed in his life, but it was all Victoria's fault. My fault. All the finger wagging was on us 100%. It was the toughest time for us because it seemed like the world was against us. And here's the thing, we were against one another. If I'm being honest completely, did you feel sorry for Victoria and the children? Yes, I did. Of course I did. I believe we just live in a very unfair world. Unfortunately for women when it comes to these types of things. Guys sleep around and they're big, tough, cool heroes. We sleep around and it's just a world we in. But back then there's no denying Rebecca noticed the chance that came with her newfound fame and took off with her. We met one another at a party. She was paired with Princess Di's lover, James Hort, on a singing show. You quite foos. So we have that in common? We do indeed. Yeah, you have had a profile that you wouldn't have had if you didn't have this scandal. Absolutely. I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Obviously, these things are super fun when you're young and single and, so I did that. And then I became a bit of a cover girl and Playboy got in touch and wanted to have me on the cover. And I was like, oh, wow, yes, I'd love to be on the cover play. So, it kind of snowballed into this world in which I did after 4 years. Wonder what am I doing? Minor celebrity is temporary. And as Rebecca's public profile began to decline, she found it hard to handle. It was tough. And when I was at the bottom, I was very, very low and very isolated. And way back when, it wasn't cool to talk about mental health. You didn't think you could pop off and just say to someone, hello, I need to have a chat. It was something that you fought with. How much do you think the affair affected your mental well-being? I took on England's blue-eyed boy, so it was tough conditions to fight against. I think all of that affected my mental well-being in some way that it was pretty traumatic, but I didn't acknowledge it being traumatic because I wanted to be strong and brave. But, some of it leaked back and reached me, and that is taken some time to come back from a large component of that. Coming back is thanks to her family. Rebecca is married to a physician now, and they have 2 teenagey boys together. She works part-time as a medical assistant and teaches yoga. The single thing she professes aided her through the dark days and is merely the wonderful reminder that it issues to me to slow life down and to simply breathe and to check in with myself. It's very, very important. While Rebecca wishes she'd handled things differently, she'd never take back her time with David Beckham. She says it's her mistakes that make her who she is today. Trying to let it go as best as I can, the yogi in me. But it's a big part of my life, big part of my journey, and if somebody tries to bring me down and smear me, I'm going to have to stand up for myself. I think I always will. People used to say, no one has bigger balls than Beckham. Oh, they're pretty tiny, in my opinion. You spoke up, yeah. In my opinion, it was a very brave thing to do to go up against them. I have stayed true to the facts. I've never exaggerated. I've never told a lie about a single thing. Why? Because I'm going up against the most powerful, strongest couple in the media with all the money in the world to have the best PR, the best lawyers. And all I had for my support was the